John Nolan plays a key role in the horror-themed primary plot of Season 8, Episode 10, His Name Was Martin, juggling his responsibilities as a union representative, a mentor, and a survivor. Westview's zombie survival. Nolan, Nyla Harper, and youngster Miles Penn are sent to the shuttered Westview Mental Hospital for a wellness check. Tactical survival. Nolan guides the party through the hospital while being pursued by zombies. Cleanup personnel who have been poisoned into a violent, neurotoxic fury. Dash's companion, Dash, the drone kid from Season 7, is traveling with Nolan, which adds to the tension. Nolan navigates the twisted form of tag in the facility and spends most of the hour defending Dash. Highlights of combat. In a more light-hearted occasion during Dash actually saves Nolan from the mayhem by diving into a yucky pool to assist him in repelling one of the assailants. Nolan as a union representative. The story transitions from terror to the intense emotional fallout from Lucy's encounter following the rescue. Supporting Lucy, Lucy needs to go through a formal inquiry because she murdered an attacker, Martin, while performing her duties. The "His Name Was Martin" scene. As Lucy's union representative, Nolan visits a shell-shocked Lucy at the hospital. He makes an effort to help her navigate the preliminary procedure, bridging the gap between the anguish she just went through and the detached legal reality of the inquiry. The Pentagon relationship. Nolan's personal life is impacted while he is confined to the hospital by Bailey's new position in Washington, D.C. Long-distance tension. The show begins with a sneak peek of Nolan and Bailey talking over a video conversation about how boring her work at the Pentagon is. Hidden risk. Bailey is put in considerable danger after conducting a secret search inside the Pentagon at Sergeant Gray's request, making her a target for an enigmatic woman. Nolan is unaware of this during his survival adventure. D. Immediately hear muffled screaming and find a dead body. Taking a cue from The Walking Dead, every employee has turned into a vicious zombie that attacks the police right away. The cops immediately determine that the crew must have lost all control due to exposure to a neurotoxic. Throughout the eerie hospital and its grounds, they fight off the zombies and flee for their lives in numerous situations. After Miles establishes his value, Lucy Chen, Melissa O'Neill, and Selena Juarez, Liseth Chavez, finally appear after realizing how long Nolan and Harper had been absent. However, a man with a knife attacks Lucy in a sad turn of events. He is stabbed during their battle and dies beside a horrified Lucy. When Tim arrives, he assumes the position of her boss rather than her boyfriend and asks her the typical questions that are necessary when on the work. Someone is killed. After being examined at the hospital, Lucy, who is obviously horrified, meets with Nolan, her union representative. By the end of the episode, we witness a severely battered Lucy having flashbacks to both her attack and the man's demise. Tim assures her that everything will be alright, but the final image shows her sobbing by herself on the couch. Even though this is a painful scene to witness, I believe Lucy's death might lead to a very interesting plot, particularly if the writers of The Rookie want to investigate this current occurrence by incorporating subtleties of Lucy's prior suffering. The Glasser case has another wrinkle in Season 8, Episode 10 of The Rookie. The Liam Glasser, Seth Gable, case is unraveling once more, which is unfortunate for Wesley Evers, Shawn Ashmore. Last season, Glasser used Ryan Dearborn, Patrick Stafford, as a patsy to cover up his wrongdoings. Dearborn suffers schizophrenia, but in this week's episode, his symptoms are under control, and he will serve as Wesley's star witness in a deposition. At first, it appears that Dearborn will be of great assistance to the. In this week's show, we don't learn much about the officer's personal life. Wade and Luna, Angel Parker, are still going through it, though, and they are currently living apart until they can resolve their differences. If Luna truly wants to keep their marriage intact, Wade advises her to quit her career, but this suggestion only made me detest Wade. Asking his wife to give up a rewarding occupation she likes and not having enough faith in her feelings for her attractive doctor coworker. I'm not sure what that episode was, but I found it entertaining, you guys. Without a doubt, viewers will either adore or loathe The Rookie Season 8 Episode 10. However, the rookie's audacity and capacity to completely embrace its freak flag 8 seasons into its run are among its strongest qualities. The rookie occasionally succeeds in implementing some of its wild concepts, but other times it fails. However, it is commendable that it is willing to go to extreme lengths. Additionally, this hour was unquestionably out there. Miles, Harper, John, and Dash spent over 40 minutes of the hour playing a bizarre variation of tag with a group of zombies. You did indeed read that correctly. Depending on who you ask, Westview has been an odd little gift that never stops. Every time they use that eerie psychiatric facility, it has enabled them to go full-blown terror. Additionally, it is the site of some of the greatest beatings and emotional wounds that upset strong, independent women to their core. For as long as it takes them to crawl out of the shadows, at least. They really did pull off the zombie mood for this hour's entertainment value. This hour reminded me of The Walking Dead in a lot of ways. Naturally, it was also making us feel like we were in a video game. Dash felt like he was channeling his inner Coral as he became lost in the battle and had to avoid everyone fighting some kind of mad drug. Carl, that is. I must say that Dash is my favorite of Holly's Nepo baby character. One of the most bizarre and unexpected ride-alongs ever was that one. It's one for the books, and Dash will undoubtedly be able to use his experience to ace his task. However, Dash's ability to remain unaffected by everything is also intriguing. He has already gone through some very bizarre experiences, and almost every time we have seen him, his life has been in danger. However, he always remains composed under duress. I can't help but believe that he exemplifies a characteristic of Generation Z that is both wonderful and unsettling, simply because they are a generation that has witnessed so much that nothing truly unnerves them. The zombie shenanigans were completely ridiculous. And it's evident that the DOP thoroughly enjoyed this show. I can't deny that I also like the snappy camera motion, the usage of drones, and the 2 instances in which they employed the upside-down camera trick. There were times when it seemed like they were putting us in a video game, and we would also get those glimpses through the body cams. Once more, the rookie always enjoys using these strategies and daring approaches, and I adore it for both of us. Westview as a whole seems to be a ghost town. For reasons I will never understand, none of the first 3 police officers received their shots when they could have, despite the fact that zombies were arriving in unending streams from all directions. I laughed as Miles ran football plays on zombies and when he stumbled upon clown dolls while exploring Westview. Derek Augustine has such a wonderful comedic presence and timing. I adore him. For the majority of the hour, Nolan was kicking ass, while Harper, as usual, held her own. But when Lucy joined the picture, the fun was over. After not hearing from anyone, Bradford waited some time to send backup, and when Lucy and Selena arrived, it was clear that something was very wrong. The fact that everyone kept getting split apart is regrettable. I am aware that Selena might be a lit. Lucy was forced to murder Martin. He would have killed her first if she hadn't stabbed him, thus it was self-defense. However, taking her own life after being dangerously close to death was an extremely traumatic event for her. She will also be burdened with the guilt of using a psychotropic medicine to kill a guy she knew was innocent. It was hard to watch the whole scene of Lucy being battered, Tim finding her, and the processing. She was simply holding a little survivor's hand and discussing how she overcame her trauma, and that was all I could think about. She's back in that mental state now, and I anticipate that she will continue to struggle for a while to come. It was devastating to watch Lucy cry after Tim went to bed. I can see why he respected her request and gave her space, but it still confused me that he didn't stay and let her figure things out on her own. I kind of thought they would pan out to show him on the opposite side of the wall, listening to her. I'm conflicted since Melissa O'Neill gives some of her best performances in dark, painful arcs. However, I also wonder how many times Lucy can be traumatized by the rookie. Additionally, Wesley was quite attractive once more during the hour. I genuinely adore that despite being married to the most fierce character in this book, he continues to stand up for and shield her as if it were no big deal. When it comes to defending Angela, he not only goes crazy, but it also makes sense. He would throw Malcolm in a hospital bed for disrespecting Angela, and I have no doubt that he wouldn't flinch. Warm. Apart from that, he took a big chance by disparaging the witness. I want him to stop putting himself in danger when it's not necessary. The poor man performed admirably during the deposition, but you could tell he was frightened and triggered when he began discussing Glasser and the influence he had on him. It seems as though some activation code or something was triggered just by the memory. He suffered.